Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today. We hope that you enjoy today's sermon by our pastoral staff at Christpoint Church. We also want you to know that if you have any questions, prayer requests, or need information on any of our ministry opportunities, you can email us at info@christpoint.church. We love you and we are praying that this will be the best year yet. Welcome home.
The pond has the ability to hydrate, but it doesn't have the ability to hydrate healthy. So very seldom the pond brings life. Does it bring life? And they're pretty much unhealthy to begin with. So we have a pond dad that's not got any of the word going in. We've got a pond dad that is never getting any good in, and what's happening is there's nothing ever good that can go out. So a pond dad just becomes stagnant. I don't want anyone that listens to my voice to be a pond dad. So let's just kind of jump to lake dads. Lake dads are a bit different. Lake dads are just a bit different. There's activity on the lake. I mean, we go to the lakes. There's activity on the lake. Lakes are more attractive. They're larger bodies of water. Lakes are full of life. Every child loves a day on the lake with their parents and grandparents. See, but here's the thing. The current is very slow when it comes to the lake. Because you can see a stick floating on the water, and by the end of the day, the stick's still floating in the same spot. It doesn't have much flow. See, I'm going to show you what it means. So I'm going to show you what I mean by going to river dads. I'm going to show you why lake dads are just a step to river dads. I want to show you what I mean. Rivers overflow their banks. Rivers overflow their banks. They move dead stuff out. They bring life to dry places. So river dads pour into their families. You guys don't hear that. We got a phone going off up here, and it's going pretty good. And see, I'm dyslexic and I'm ADHD, so if you do that, I'm going to jam right with you. So that's just how we roll. So river dads pour into their families living water. Living waters. That's what river dads do. See, pond dads just really never are anything except a body of water that could hydrate, but it's not healthy enough to do that. Lake dads, there's just not enough movement. There's a level of excitement, but there's just not enough movement. Nothing ever gets washed out. Nothing. It never hydrates the dry places. The lake can be completely full here, but right here it never gets if it doesn't get any rain, those trees will die. So lakes are good, but they need more flow. They need the ability to wash out whatever's dead. So river dads can literally, the rivers overflow their banks for a reason. The rivers overflow their banks because there's too much coming in. And when there's too much coming in, there's got to be enough coming out. And it affects them. It washes away all the impurities, all the junk, all the dead debris. And river dads, pour into their families living waters. We'll show you in John chapter 7. Verses 37 and 38. I want to show you what it says. This is Jesus, and he cries out, "If anyone thirsts, let him come to me and drink." Now, this is Jesus. Kind of just all of a sudden, he just cries out. He makes a loud, I'm going to make a statement here, and everybody's going to hear it. He startles everyone. "Whoever believes in me, the Scripture has said of him who believes in me, out of his heart will flow rivers of living waters." Does it say out of his heart will flow lakes of living waters, or ponds? It says out of his heart will flow rivers of living waters, and rivers have the ability to change whatever they touch. Believe me, I have seen some pretty rough, heavy floods. I remember looking at the calf killer and thinking, there goes some dude's hay, round bells, as they go by, he just lost all of his hay that he worked so hard to store. It was washing round bells down the river just with a strong current. It washes out and it purifies and it cleans. Living water only comes from Jesus. I'm going to tell you, it's only going to come from Jesus. We're not going to get living water from somewhere else. We're only going to get living water from Jesus. So here's the thing. If whatever input I have is what's going out. So I'm not going to have a river flowing into me and a cesspool flowing out. I'm not going to likewise have a cesspool flowing into me and clean and fresh water flowing out. So if I'm only getting this nastiness into my life, this is what's going to pour out to my children. This is what's going to pour out on my family. Whatever comes in is what's going to go out. So, living water only comes from Jesus and can only be poured out of a vessel that is filled with living water to begin with. So I can only pour out what's in there to start with. And if I don't have the Word in me, then I'm really kind of conflicted as to what comes out. It's going to be a chore to try to bring fresh water from a bitter stream. So dads, let me challenge you with this thinking before we move into the king portion. Dads, ponds, lakes, or rivers, what's it going to be? I'm just telling you, what's it going to be? Because I'm going to tell you a little story at the end that sums up what this looks like. So what's it going to be? Is it going to be a pond? Is it going to be a lake? Because the lake's getting there, but definitely not a pond. Is it going to be a pond, a lake, or a river? So, now, let's move on. Every father's a king in the eyes of a child. Every father's a king in the eyes of a child. It doesn't matter. That child thinks that male figure in their life, sometimes it's the father that they have for the time being. Sometimes it's a grandfather. Every father's king in that child's eyes. So let's take the river dad and see if we can find him in the Proverbs 31 man. So let me explain it again. I'm going to do some explaining for you. So I'm going to explain it again. Proverbs 31 is like, wait a minute, that's about the moms. You know, we always hear that at Mother's Day. You know, who can find a virtuous woman? You know, that Proverbs 31 is the mom chapter in the Bible. See, it's not just a message for mothers. This is so like God. This is how God works. Proverbs 31 starts out about the man before it moves in to the woman. It starts out from a mother's perspective to her son, who is the king. So she's speaking to the priest of the home. That's what God is doing today. He's speaking to the priest of the home. It is our jobs to be the priest of our homes. So in Proverbs chapter 31, let's look at verses 1 through 9. We're going to kind of look at those, and it speaks of the king. And men, let me just say, I'm not chauvinistic, and I'm not dictator. I'm just telling you the facts according to the Word. Your wife cannot be the king of your home. I'm sorry, she cannot be the king of your home because her gender does not allow her to be the king of a home. I mean, she can very much qualify to be the queen, but she cannot be the king. So, and here's the thing, kings rule. I want you to remember this. If you don't remember anything, remember this. Kings rule, good kings model and lead, and great kings make a difference. So kings rule. Some kings rule, but it doesn't make them a good king. And every king desires to have a wonderful and partnership with a queen. So great kings bring living water to dry places. Great kings will bring living waters to dry places. So let's meet King. I'm going to call him King Louis. His name is King Lemuel. And we hear about King Lemuel in these first 9 chapters, first nine verses in chapter 31. Proverbs chapter 31. Let's look at verse 1. The words of King Lemuel, I'm going to call him King Louis. An oracle or a message that his mother taught him. So this is what his mother does. She gives him 4 basic messages, 4 basic instructions for being or acting or understanding how to be a king. So she says, this is the 4 basic. You know, it's like we have a couple basic rules at Christpoint Church. You know, the pastor's beatitudes. Be here, be early, be always, be positive, and be prepared, and don't mess up. You know, I mean, just take one of them and run with it. So she gives him 4 basic instructions. She says, you're a king, and here's my 4 basic instructions for you to look, act, and take on the persona of being a king. So this is your role as a king. And number one, how to be a king is found in verse 3. Number one, don't give your strength to women. This is what she says. O King Lemuel, it is not for kings, she says. Don't give your strength to women. Now here's two veins of thought. And like I said, you may agree or disagree, but you're not agreeing or disagreeing with me on anything. You're agreeing or disagreeing with the word. So trust me, don't shoot the messenger. Here's two veins of thought. One for the centuries that's leading up to now, including now, and one for the modern day. So the one for the centuries, number one, the right woman can bring greatness into your life. The right woman can rule beside you as queen. The right woman will support, will love, will honor you, and you her, and she will help you put 10,000 to flight. The word says one will put 1,000 to flight, two will put 10,000. Not just 2,000, but 10,000. She will help you do an exponentially amount more. So the right woman will make you. The wrong woman will break you. She will destroy you. Now let me just say, I'm not just talking about the wrong woman. Let's just learn from this, women and men alike. Hear this. Choose your mate according to God's standards. It's not just for the woman here, or the man. It's not just that, the women are all bad. She's speaking to her son. If she'd have been speaking to her daughter, she would have been saying it the opposite. So she is telling us, hear this. Choose your mate according to God's standards, not according to what that person looks like. Not according to what that person has. Not according to what that person's status is or how much status their family has. Don't choose your mate according to that, or the one that you will fall in love with or break or not break your heart. Make sure it's according to God's standards, because the wrong mate is not for kings. That's what she says. She says over and over, O King Lemuel, son of my vows, O my son, it's not for kings. So she says, listen, choose the right person. Choose the one that will walk beside you in the victory of the Lord, because if you don't get that, you've got half of your life that's just been stricken down as difficult. So the wrong mate is not for kings. And ladies, without a king, you will never be the queen that you deserve to be. So let me just say that again. Don't, young people, old people, middle-aged people, if you're looking for a mate, make sure they fit the criteria of the Bible. Because let me tell you something, you're not going to fix them. You're not going to fix them. And you need to choose somebody that's going to treat you like a queen. So guys, Father's Day, if we're not treating her like a queen, then we need to start. So, number two, that vein of thought, that's today, and I know this is probably a little uncomfortable, but the vein of thought, men, concerning women, kings don't view women online. Kings don't view women in a magazine. I'm just telling you, this is what ruins a king. Kings don't do this. Women are not objects. They deserve a king. They're not objects for us to look at, to gawk at, and to belittle. They are queens, and they should be treated as queens. So let me just say it so we're not mixing any words here. Pornography is not for kings. Just say it straight up. This is what could be said if she were saying it today. King Lemuel, I'm telling you, pornography is not for kings. So let's just get that straight. So, how to be a king? We looked at number one, how to be a king. Her second challenge in verse 3 again. Do not give your strength to those who destroy kings. Now, it's very likely that she is continuing her narrative about the wrong woman. And that does fit, because the wrong woman will destroy a king. But let me just take this a step further. This is probably a continuing, but let me just make sure we're not missing anything. We can surround ourselves with the wrong company on a regular basis. We can surround ourselves with the wrong company. Also, too many days with the guys and not enough in the Word and with our family can turn a river into a stagnant pond in a real quick hurry. So, you know what? These guys, they're fun. Because I'm going to tell you, I love being with the guys. A guy, one dude's asked me one time back in the early 2000s, he said, how's your golf game? I said, pretty much terrible. He said, you don't play anymore? I'm like, yeah, once in a while. He said, why don't you play anymore? I said, because I'd rather ride a motorcycle with my wife than to play golf with guys. And that's my heart. I'm just telling you who I am. So, too many days with the guys and not enough in the Word, not enough in the family, not enough at the river can turn a river into a stagnant pond in a real quick hurry. So, how to be a king, number 3. So number 1 is don't let the eye fool us where the wrong mate is concerned or somebody that's an object. Make sure that the people we're hanging around with are people who want us to be king. So let me just give you number 3. How to be a king, number 3, and it's found in verse 4. She says, oh, King Louis, it's not for kings. It's not for kings, Lemuel. She says it, my son, the son of my vows. Oh, my son, it's not for kings. And then this is what she says. It's not for kings to drink wine or for rulers to take strong drink. So, I told you, you may not like it. I like it. I can't wash down the parts that I think are going to make us feel uncomfortable. So, it's not for kings to drink wine or for rulers to take strong drink. So, in other words, the word continues that those people who are not kings, you know what? Let them do that. But not for kings. It's not for kings. See, I don't want my children have never saw me take a drink because I don't drink. I don't like it. It wasn't hard, but they've never seen me take a drink. They've never watched me take a drink. It's never been on their vocabulary. So, do I think you're going to go to hell for drinking? No, I didn't say that. That's not what I'm saying. You know what I do think? This is what I do think. I think it's not for kings. I just think it's straight up not for kings. Because in verse 5, it clouds your judgment. So strong drink. So notice this strong drink. It's like somebody says, well, I take a glass at night for my stomach. Well, that's up to you. I'm not sure I shouldn't do that. But it's not for me. It's not for me because I want to be a better example. But all I do know is that it's not for kings. In verse 5, it clouds a judgment. It weakens a king, she says. It weakens a king, and what it does is it pulls respect from the king. So notice in verse 5, it causes harm to causes harm to more than just yourself. So it causes harm to more than just yourself. I'll give you a personal example of that. Because of a drunk driver, I don't have a sister anymore. So there's people say, well, Steve's against drinking because his sister was killed by a drunk driver. That's part of it. But the biggest part is it's not for kings. It's just not for kings. So it causes harm to more than just you. So, did you know, I'm going to give you some statistics. Did you know that 500,000 cases of alcohol violence are reported every year? 500,000. 500,000 of alcohol-related cases in court are alcohol-related. Did you know that 86% of homicides are committed while intoxicated? 86. That's almost 9 out of every 10. Are committed while intoxicated. Do you know? In other words, people are killing people while they're drunk. Because in verse 5, it clouds your judgment. It weakens your strength. So do you know 60% of sexual abuse and rape occur under the influence? 70% of domestic abuse cases are under the influence. 40% of all convictions are alcohol-related. Tina and I made a little trip, and if you ever get a chance to do this, please, I recommend it. You go to Brushy Mountain State Prison Museum. It's pretty cool. We went up there. We toured it. Me and some of the guys went one day, and I highly recommend it, but I think of this when I think of this statistic. Do you realize that 40% of all convictions are alcohol-related? In other words, do you realize that of the worst, that was called the end of the line, that they didn't go anywhere past that. If they left there, they left there because they were let go or they died. Most of them died because the average sentence at that prison was 200 years. So they weren't going home. It was the end of the line. And I look around and I think to myself, 4 out of every 10 of those, if they have never drank or if they wouldn't drunk, they wouldn't be in there. So, we got it. In other words, I didn't mean to kill Miss So-and-so. I don't even remember it because your judgment was clouded. So, enough on that. You are a royal priesthood. 1 Peter 2:9. You are a royal priesthood. That means you're a king. Kings need to be different. Straight up. Kings need to be different. Somebody told me one time, said, well, I got drunk last night. This has been about a year ago. I got drunk last night, and I just told the young man, I said, I'm not judging you, but I want you to know you're better than that. You're better than that, and you're a king. And 1 Peter 2:9 says, act like one. And so does King Lemuel's mother. So how to be a king, number 4, found in verse 9. This is where it starts getting better. So this is what she says. Open your mouth, kings. Judge righteously, kings. Defend the poor. Defend the needy. In other words, this is what kings are for. This is what kings are for. Remember, kings rule. That means probably good kings, bad kings. Remember, good kings model. They model how to be a king. They lead in kingship, but great kings make a difference. Be a great king. Open your mouth. Judge righteously. You know what this means? This means literally, this is what this means. There are some people who can't speak for themselves, and we need to speak up for them. You know who those people are? The ones that are not born yet. You'll never convince me that in any crazy mentality that we could ever justify that. Not 1 minute. You could fight until you're blue in the face. It's not going to happen. I'm never going to agree to that. Because here's why. Because when that baby hits the ground, it's crying, it's breathing, and its heart was beating since 9 months earlier. So open your mouth, kings, for those who can't open their mouth themselves. Speak and judge righteously for those who can't. Defend the poor because nobody's going to defend them. And defend the ones that are in need because nobody's fighting for these guys. What's the difference between a ruler, a king, a good king, and a great king? Right here in verse 9. Right here in verse 9. Verse 9 is the river. It is the river, and we will never defend the helpless. We will never stand for the righteous. For righteousness. We will never help the poor. We will never speak righteousness into lives if we're destroying our rivers. If we're destroying our rivers, this is not one of those eco-friendly sermons either. I'm talking about the river. As long as we're destroying the rivers, we're always going to look like ponds. And we can turn a river into a pond in a quick hurry. Kings rule, good kings model and lead, and great kings make a difference. In 1996, I told you I was going to come around to a personal story. We had this men's meeting, and there was a challenge made, and I remember we were away, and it was a men's weekend. And I remember the challenge being made. My son in 96 was 7. And they said, we want to challenge you to go home and to ask your child or children how you can be a better father. Now think about this. That made me nervous, and be honest with you, because I was afraid that I was going to get something that I didn't want to hear. So I remember I came in. It's probably about 10 o'clock. I woke my son up. How you doing, bud? Hey, Dad, you're home, all this stuff. Okay, yeah. So we talked a minute, and I said, Taylor, how can I be a better father? I asked him, I said, straight up, how can I be a better father? And this is what he told me. He gave me 3 things. To this day, I have no clue what one of them was. I have no clue what all 3 I have no idea what they were. But I can tell you what they were. Number 1 was spend time with me. Number 2 was spend time with me. Number 3 was spend time with me. Everything that he chose had nothing to do with buying anything, purchasing anything, making anything that would cost money. Everything was spend time with me, and spend time with me. So guys, mothers, fathers, let me just kind of challenge you this morning. We go through life doing this. We have balls in the air. Somebody called me once and said, how's everything? I said, well, I've got all the balls in the air this morning and none have fallen yet. So, we go through life juggling. This is how we do. We go through life juggling. And this was brought to us about a year ago, and Tina has even taught it recently. So this is what we need to determine. When we're in that juggling act, the balls that are in the air, some are rubber. That means they can bounce and it won't hurt. You can drop those. But some are glass. So here's the thing. Some messages are not always going to be evangelical from this pulpit. Some messages are going to have us sweep the house. What we have to determine is which one of these balls, because once we get 4 and 5 and 6 and 8 and 10, that's when we start getting frustrated. That's when we start pushing back. And see, we've got all these balls in the air, and we're afraid to drop any of them, and some of them it's not going to hurt to drop at all. And you know what? It's like, oh, I dropped that one. You know, well, that was just hanging out with the guys. That doesn't matter. See, the ones that are glass balls, our relationship with the Lord, our time in prayer and study, our children, our families, grandchildren, we can't drop these. These are glass. They can't be dropped. So we got to make sure that we have to determine which ones can be dropped and which ones can't. See, some messages are evangelical from this pulpit, and some want us, some messages that the Lord gives us, it's going to make us want to, or should challenge us to sweep the house. Maybe we need to do a little sweeping. Maybe we need to do a little evaluating. Maybe we need to realize that I'm kind of a pond and not a river, and I'm not really as much a king as I need to be. And maybe I've got too much focus on the balls that are in the air that don't matter. Great kings make a difference. Hey guys, Pastor Steve here, and it is freedom time again. Yes, it's that time of year. Freedom Celebration is just ahead, so we want you to make plans to be there. I'm going to kick it over to Danny Wayne. He's going to give you all the details, and we're going to tell you all about what's planned for this year.
White County Executive Danny Wayne Robinson here, encouraging everyone to come out July the 2nd for a 3rd annual Freedom Celebration here in White County. It'll be at the White County Recreational Complex down on the Highway 70 ball fields, what we call the Smithville Highway. So head out west and you'll see it there on the left. Gates open at 4 o'clock. There'll be lots of things there, lots of vendors, lots of food. Just a good time. Can't wait to see you there. And now over to you, Fuzzy.
Hey, this is Ron Fuzzy Pfeiffer of the band Shattered from Sparta, Tennessee. We're looking forward to playing the Freedom Celebration again this year at the football fields off the Smithville Highway. We had a great time last year. The crowd was unreal, and we hope to have great weather again this year. Great music, great fellowship, and great food. So we look forward to seeing you there this year. Take it away, Mr. Steve.
Okay, so while this is our 3rd annual Freedom Celebration, there are all kinds of cool things planned. We've made it bigger and we've made it better. All kinds of vendors will be there. Gates open at 4. Don't forget that. It is on July 2nd on a Friday afternoon. Do not forget that. Everything from food vendors will be there, craft vendors, face painting, you name it. We have it for you that evening, and the band will be playing, and after dark, wow, the fireworks, professional pyro shows will be shooting the fireworks into the air after dark. We invite each and every one of you, bring your family, bring your lawn chairs, and have some fun. We look forward to seeing you at Freedom Celebration this year.